Hello, everyone, and welcome to my weekly outlook. Hopefully, everyone's had a great trading week. Let's get right into it. Let's first talk about crude oil. Let's go day by day. What exactly happened throughout this week? So we had a day off on Monday, so there was relatively slow trading in the international market. So I'll start from what happened from Tuesday onwards. By the way, I'm on the Brent oil chart since crude oil just had a new contract open up, so the charts are slightly skewed in there. So I'm on the Brent oil chart. So what we saw is a good move higher on Tuesday, but we saw immediate rejection near the 57 levels, and it closed very weak. We saw it move much lower on Wednesday, um, indicating that there could be a start of a bearish move. But it held this important pivot. It put in an inside day on Thursday, and it moved higher. So to sum it up, it's been a very choppy week. Still unsure where crude might head, but the weekly could give us a better idea. So switching to the weekly now. So what we see is crude oil put in this doji a couple of weeks ago, which suggested there could be a reversal. It moved lower the next week, but put in a very strong tail, which meant sort of confusion about which direction it would head. And it put in another spinning top doji this week. So, what my idea for crude would be to go long once it breaks this level, the high of the previous 2 weeks. Going short is not really what I would want to do because of these strong tails. I've usually seen that even if the lows of these tails break, it usually doesn't give that good a move. So I'm probably going to stay out of the short. I'm just going to go try going long for this trade. So my idea for crude would be to just go long once it breaks the week highs. Um, let's just see what the moving averages are doing. So let me just switch it to the 8 moving average. So the average have caught up to these two candles, and what I feel is if the low could be somewhere where it closed this week, and the moving average would be on the base of that candle, it could really propel higher. If I zoom out this chart, you can see that there is a small, sorry about that, you can see that there is a small consolidation in this area, and it's just settling in here, and it's just waited for the moving averages to catch up, and it looks like it could go higher. That's what I see at the onset of this chart. That's what I see when I look at this chart, with an unbiased opinion. What I also see is on the weekly, all these tails which are being put in, this usually suggests a bullish move. um, so there definitely could be a short in this, but with these tails, I would stay out of that. What I would do is just go long once it breaks the high of these 2 weeks. That looks like a solid trade to me. My stop would obviously be the low of this, so that's about a $2.50 stop, and I would try trailing it towards this area. That would be about a $4 to $8 move. So that would again give me a risk reward of about 1:2. Not that good. I usually like 1:3 more, but I'll take that. This definitely looks like a strong chart. So let's see what crude does this week. I'm expecting it to break higher, um, but overall this week has been pretty choppy. Let's see what happens in the coming week. All right, let's talk about gold now. So on the outset, gold has just continued to move higher. We've seen some small move lower, but looks like it's just putting a pivot. Currently on the daily now, but a more interesting chart here is the weekly chart. It's put in a spinning top doji right around this area where we've seen a lot of resistance earlier. So it could move lower if it breaks the low of this candle, that is 1195. So I'm unsure of how low it could go from there. Earlier in the year, I had an outlook of gold moving down towards $1,000. When gold started reversing here, I thought maybe I was wrong, but let's see what actually happens. So just looking at the weekly, straight up, it's put in the spinning top doji after very good three green candles. It's slightly extended on the moving averages. We might see it catch up. Um, and if I zoom out for a longer term perspective, we can see that gold is still in this downtrend, and really needs to break the 1310 levels to really confirm a genuine reversal or a genuine bull rally. So just talking about the smaller term, so it's put in the spinning top doji, and I think if it really had to show its strength, it would probably break this candle. But honestly, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Gold moving higher from here after putting in this slightly weaker candle, I would assume, or I would expect it to move lower, at least towards the 1160 area. So my trade idea for the week would be a slightly shorter term trade with gold, with shorting gold at 1195 and trying to book it, or trying to trail it at least towards 1160. If it can break this level, that is the 1120 area, I would almost certainly expect it to move towards the $1,000 area where this resistance stands. So I would say if you're long gold, you have a good spot to put your stops. That is the low of this candle at 1195. I wouldn't really know if anyone's short right now. That would be a very tricky trade. But if you want to initiate a new trade, I would say to go short below 1195. That seems to be the right idea. I might try to take a short out there too. I usually don't trade for a percent or two, but this trade does look appealing to me, and I might be slightly lower tier size on this trade, and I'll definitely look to go short once it breaks that 1195 level. All right, moving on to silver. So a couple of weeks ago, I suggested going long once it breaks this entire resistance of 17.3. What we saw this week was it completely rejecting the 17.3 area, confirming my assumption of the strong resistance existing in this area. Let me just draw that for you. So this entire area, there's just really strong resistance with this pivot here and this entire choppiness, the base of this entire choppiness. So what we saw silver do this week was test that resistance, rejecting it and failing from there and moving lower. So if I switch to the weekly chart, we can see that silver, it's closed modestly weak, but what I find the most appealing amongst all silver charts is the monthly chart. So after consecutive 7 weeks lower, that's 7 months lower, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. It looks like silver could be ready to go, but not just yet. I would expect it to start moving higher in February, provided it closes strong this week. That's the end of January. So what I would say with that trade is putting in a bullish engulfing candle here, and for the first time since for the first time since July, putting in a higher high on the monthly chart. So I had suggested for slightly longer term traders to go long once it broke that area. I would still stay intact for that call, and I certainly would be going long there, and I really like that trade. Um, so my idea for silver would probably trigger only in February, and I would suggest going long once it broke that 17.3 area. And for the longer term traders, I would suggest you all to hold it till $26. For the slightly shorter term traders, take it on a week to week basis. Um, Let me just switch to the 5-hour chart to show something very interesting to you guys. So, silver's had this downtrend, and it just kind of sold off from there again. So this confirms that this trend line in silver is really important. And once it breaks this trend line, we could see a good spike higher, at least initially to the 19 area, that is towards this area. So I would wait for silver to break that 17.3 area. Obviously, it's not a definite point of 17.3 or 17.31. It's usually that entire area which has resistance. So once it breaks that resistance, I would expect silver to move towards $19 pretty quickly. So for the people who trade shorter term, this is usually a kind of trade I take. So I would go long once silver breaks about 17.3, and I would have a target of around $19. That's about 10%. My stops would probably be at the closest pivot. Right now, what I can see is 16.75 area. So if you see that, you get a risk reward of 1:3, something I like. So this is definitely my trade idea for the month, for at least for next month, hoping that it triggers next month. For this week, if I talk about this week, I would expect a relatively quiet week um, with some choppy action, pretty much something like what happened last week. So I would stay put and try to hold, um taking a new position till it breaks that 17.3 area. All right, that was it for this week's weekly outlook. I've also put up a video for natural gas. People who are interested can go and check that out. Um, Hoping everyone has a great trading week. All right, thank you.